I would say while you're starting your career, while you're in the early stages, I feel like that is the time to take risks.
GovCon has a language of its own. Acronyms, compliance, contracting. And when you're new, well, it can feel a little bit like alphabet soup.
And let's be real, no one hands you a decoder ring. We're your hosts, Amanda Ziede and Camille Tutti, and we're here to get real about how people actually break in, level up, and lead in government contracting.
Because not everyone grows up dreaming about government contracts. Some people start with a chemistry degree and submarines.
Today's guest made a pivot after working as a scientist and engineer, and that led to a career building and leading growth organizations across GovCon.
Along the way, he learned that with risk sometimes comes reward, and sometimes the reward is the lesson you take with you.
He also reminds us that growth isn't for the faint of heart. He calls it the hardest job in the company because while the defense budget is big, there's only so much to go around. Everyone's competing and partnering for the same dollars.
And that complexity is exactly what makes the work so rewarding for those who thrive in it. Today, our guest leads a broad team driving growth across the full federal acquisition lifecycle.
All right, let's get into it. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Rookies to Rockstars, a short, sharp series where we ask bold, smart people one thing. What do you know now that you wish someone had told you at the start? I'm your host today, Amanda Ziede, and our guest is Michael Polmar, Chief Growth Officer at Tyto Athene. Michael, we're so glad to have you on the show.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
So, Michael, taking a peek at your bio and a bit of your LinkedIn, I noticed that you have over 30 years of experience in leading growth organizations for several government contractors. You've overseen BD, M&A, P&L management. You've even led a CEO. But I actually noticed scrolling down that you went to college for chemistry. So I'm interested about the pivot to business and what you wish someone had told you about the field that you didn't know going into it.
It's interesting because this time of the year, you see a lot of kids, young adults getting ready for college. And, the first thing everybody asks you is, oh, what are you going to major in? What school are you going to and what are you going to major in? So it's a timely question. So for me, really, the drive to getting a degree in chemistry was based on my love of the science in high school. And just became my favorite subject. And so I carried that on through college, never really thinking about where it might take me. I did realize, though, after breaking a considerable amount of glassware in lab, that I probably was not set out to be a research chemist per se. But having grown up in the DC area and knowing that so many people in the DC area are either government employees or contractors, coming back here after school, it made a lot of sense. Come back to the DC area, it made a lot of sense to consider my options in that field. And it turns out I was able for the first few years to merge both by working on submarine development programs where chemistry and physics were really a large part of the research that I did at that time. But like all things, you experience different things throughout your career. And after about 4 years of being a scientist, I had the opportunity to manage programs, which really was my intro into business, and really enjoyed that aspect. And so continued to develop that and ended up where I am now.
So I understand you've also spent lots of time in different organizations throughout your career. What were your early days in the GovCon market like, and how did you navigate the industry?
My first role, which I was at the firm 8 years, which is for me, probably it was my longest tenure anywhere. The reason I stayed as long as I did was because I had the opportunity, as I mentioned, to graduate from a scientist to a program manager to actually a division manager and manage a variety of programs, both in the Navy space as well as in the intelligence community. And so the mission was really exciting. Navigating around that, I would say those two universes that I navigated in were fairly small and fairly specific. The submarine community is a very small, tight-knit community. Parts of the intelligence community certainly are as well. You get close with people, you share mission, focus, and you really build the camaraderie. And I'm still close to a number of those folks today.
This is a random follow-up, but did you ever go in the submarines that you worked with, or
only a couple of times?
Cool.
So yes. So I did get a chance to get on board a few times and also go to some of the construction sites where they were building them, which was even cooler. So a lot of fun.
Awesome. So as you look back, working your way up in the business field in the government contracting market, what was most helpful or influential about the strategy that you chose?
For me, Having the technical underpinnings, no matter what field you're in, is really important. It teaches you, I would say, a logical way of thinking about things, solving problems, classifying certain activities. Again, it helps you solve big problems. I think coming from that background, then applying it not only to the technical pieces, but also the business side and the operational side really was a great aid to me. And then, of course, building a network. So once I moved into a larger firm, my second firm, which was a big, at the time, Fortune 100 company, the ability to then network within the company and network out to a larger population of people really helped me build the relationships and the understanding that has propelled my career.
Did you face any challenges or hurdles that really stuck out to you as perhaps like monumental turning points or, left you with major life lessons?
Yeah, I think a few of them. I mean, not every career choice I made was an ideal career choice. With risk, sometimes comes reward. Sometimes the reward is the lessons you learn. So I did have a one particular transition I made where I left a large, very stable company. I was doing very well, but it was a company that still was, I'll say, grounded in the past, to the sense that, it was hard to advance unless you had a certain tenure. I would say a certain age, they weren't going to move you up the chain, even if you had perhaps enough of a portfolio that they should have. So for me, it was a chance to, hey, I'm going to leave here. It's a very comfortable place. I'm doing well, but to try more of a startup, I would say. And so with that, went into a startup. It was an exciting time, but one of the lessons I learned is startups need to be well capitalized. This one wasn't necessarily. And I also feel like if you're going into a startup, you also have to align your goals and values with the people that are running the business. And so at that point, over time, I found we weren't really as aligned as I had hoped. And then it was a chance for me to jump on to another business where, in fact, I was aligned, they were better capitalized, and some really nice outcomes occurred there. So I think risk is inherent in some people's career, and I encourage people to take those risks, but make sure you have the knowledge of where you're going fully before you make that jump.
Yeah, absolutely. Any advice for people just starting out in their careers who are trying to merge perhaps two passions, or kind of like how you did, who might be afraid to, might not see the future in it?
Yeah, I think I would say while you're starting your career, while you're in the early stages, I feel like that is the time to take risks.
Mm-hmm.
As I always talk in terms of finances, when you have a high fixed cost, which could be a house, a family, other major monthly financials that you have to contend with, sometimes you don't have those options. But while you're early in your career, if you have the flexibility, do somewhat follow your passion. I would say it has to be realistic. Not everybody's going to become a rock and roll star or professional athlete or a fashion model, but follow your passion and do some experimentation. I would also encourage folks, if you think you have a great business idea, you may want to consider doing a startup. But again, you have to be realistic about it. You need capital typically, and you need the right kind of backing. But I think, again, now is the time, especially in the age of AI coming on board, where there will be tremendous opportunity for folks that take risks.
And I'm curious, how do you define success in your field from a BD and growth perspective? Is it winning contracts, growing in numbers and profit, big M&A wins, or all of the above? And also, has this idea of success changed since you've progressed?
Yeah, so I think now I would say my success from a business perspective has to do with attaining goals. Our financial sponsor and my boss, they have goals for the business. And if I hit those goals, it's success. If I hit them the right way, which is with the right team, working hard, working smartly, making sure we do things in a very ethical manner, then yeah, I think we can declare success and move on to the next level of goals. For us at Tyto, it's the opportunity to grow the business, provide opportunity for our employees, also to delight our customers, to bring them new technologies, new capabilities, help them modernize, whether it's Department of Defense, Department of Justice, or many of the other customers we have. I think where it started as an individual, when I was young and just starting out, success was enjoying what I did, which I did, and making good money. Those are very simplistic goals, sometimes hard to attain. But then over time, they change a bit from a personal perspective. And, you know, one of the keys, in addition to meeting our targets, of course, is for me to work with people that I really like and enjoy working with. And as I've gotten older, that becomes more and more important to me, is having the right team, to be a part of the right team at the leadership level and to lead the right team from a growth perspective. And to me, that's just under hitting our goals. That's a close second.
And how about networking? Obviously, in this industry, a lot of times who you know can be very helpful. Was that a mentorship or networking? Was that a big part of your career journey? And do you recommend it for those, working their way up?
Yeah, absolutely. So networking in this business is everything. Whether you're in growth or even if you're in operations, right? Running a program or as I was, a scientist or an engineer on a program, networking with your clients so you understand their perspectives, networking with your colleagues, networking in industry groups, all really critical to growth. I also am a big believer in mentorship. I've had a few particular people that mentored me considerably through my career. And I enjoy actually mentoring folks. I have a couple of folks in the company and outside of the company that I try to mentor. And I'm a big believer in intern programs and in getting folks involved in the business as early as we can and giving them a look at what it looks like to lead the business, what it looks like to lead part of an organization or a function. I think that the sooner that folks just starting out understand that, and if it's a goal that they have, then it's easier for them to attain that.
Definitely. So, what would you say are your biggest tips for succeeding in the BD growth world, specifically in this market?
Yeah, so the BD growth role, it's interesting. That's typically not a role people start out with,
Sure.
right? They usually have some operational capability or they've worked somewhere in the business first, and eventually they come over to BD if they have the right, I would say, mentality for it. Growth is certainly a challenge. I would argue it's the hardest job in the company. We have tens of thousands of defense contractors. Even though it's a big budget, there's only so much budget to go around, and we are all fighting for that budget. Fighting and partnering. Growth, you have to have the right mentality. You have to want to connect with people. You have to want to spend most of your day talking or actively listening, getting creative, being both strategic and tactical at the same time, understanding the market, understanding your clients, understanding where the money's going, what contracts and efforts are priority for your client, and then how to position your business, whether it's as prime or sub. So it's a very complex aspect of the business, but it is, for those that enjoy it, there's nowhere else they'd rather be.
And as someone who's led teams for a range of organizational sizes, what's something that you think the next generation might need to let go of if they want to really grow into strong business leaders?
Yeah, I don't want to sound like the old guy here, but I think it's a little bit of, what does work-life balance mean? And I don't know that COVID really helped this much in the trend towards remote work, but to me, work-life balance doesn't mean life balance. It means, work is work. They call it work and not fun for a reason. So I feel like people need to understand when they step into a job, from that 9 to 5 or 8 to 6 or 7 to 7, whatever, their rhythm is, work is by far the priority. Now, don't get me wrong. People on my team come to me and say, hey, I've got to run to a doctor's appointment. That's fine. Go take care of yourself or family. But in general, people checking in an hour or two a day and then going off about the day, not working. I heard a lot of those stories in COVID, but I worry a little bit about the next generation, that the work experience that I had in my younger years, that fuels my commitment and drive now. And I worry that some of the younger folks now, if they don't have those same hardworking experiences in their younger years, they won't have that same drive and desire as they get older. So that would probably be the one thing the next generation maybe needs to unlearn.
Yeah, we were talking about this actually in another episode, similar question, same response. It's crazy because a lot of these young adults were also remote during school.
Yes.
Not their fault, but it's weird to think about entering the workforce fully remote. That's a foreign concept to us, right? Like you graduate and your job off the bat is remote. So it's unusual. I have a follow-up. I was thinking about this. Merging your, math and science brain with your business brain in this market, do you find there are great benefits communication-wise to be able to talk technically while also talking numbers? Does that benefit you in this position?
It certainly does. As we think about, in the end, it's about supporting our customers, delighting our customers. And so oftentimes those are technical challenges, or they could be financial challenges on a program where a customer wants more out of the program, but they don't have any more money. Or it could be they need a new technology or a change in technology. But again, they don't have enough money perhaps, or they have extra money, they don't know where to spend it, all of these issues. But typically funding and capabilities, whether it's operational or technical, are all tied together. And so the idea of understanding the technology and understanding where it's going, as well as what's the art of the possible with the business side, I think having those two pieces together is really important to satisfying your clients. And I feel like that's something that I've always enjoyed working in that space. And for folks that have that technical background, I would encourage them to get the business, underpinnings as well, and vice versa.
Awesome. Well, great. Well, Michael, thank you so much. This was really fantastic. Thanks for sharing your time and giving us a look into the making of a BD leader. We appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Amanda. And thanks for your time, and thank JD for me as well.
Of course, we'll do.
Awesome. Thanks.
Thanks for listening to Rookies to Rockstars. GovCon doesn't come with a playbook, but these stories might be the next best thing. Follow the show, share it with someone still figuring it out, and connect with us on LinkedIn. We'd love to hear from you.